And even though I'm satisfied,
And I know my friends have said, "You're going back again? Don't you get tired? There's so much to see in Europe." So no, there's a magic about this place.
so here's to life and every joy it brings. Here's to life, to dreamers and their dreams.
Well, Kyostro started as just a vague dream in my head, from my perspective. I wanted to provide a place that people who I knew who were creative could go and be creative, to try out some of their work, to try out some of their craft, to just provide a space for artists to be creative, to do whatever they needed to do to enhance their own work.
The weather was really perfect, and we were sitting outside, and you're overlooking this vineyard, and you're given the task of viewing all of the colors and then trying to translate them onto your paper. And it was just, you're surrounded by really wonderful people and a really positive atmosphere, and it was just, I caught myself smiling in the middle of it all, just happy that I was there, and I was in Tuscany, and I was taking a painting class.
I think I had some expectations about how much writing I would be able to get done and the caliber of people I would be working with and the surrounding area, and the place specifically would lend a certain atmosphere that was conducive to writing, quiet, beauty. And that all happened, yeah. I mean, although the surrounding area is just beautiful and it's wonderful to be in an exotic place like Italy, I think what's most important was the work.
It's relaxing and it's good for your mind and body. It's good for you. For me especially, yes.
Well, it's been a really, really enjoyable experience. I was in the cooking class. I've done a little Italian cooking before in Firenze 3 years ago, so it wasn't all new to me. The highlight for me was working with Michael, the chef, who's just a very, very interesting guy, and conducts the class with a lot of humor. He's strict. He made us work, but that's what we expected to do. So just for me, it was a lot of fun to work with Michael and learn about the foods of this area and how to put them together. I certainly enjoyed my other 5 colleagues in the cooking class too. Everyone was very enthusiastic about what we were doing and just participated fully. So that made it a whole experience for me.
There are a lot of similarities in that the kind of work we're doing, the processes that we're using are the same. The differences are the settings, the types of subjects that we can shoot. Certainly being here in Venice is very different than being out on the farm in Tuscany. The groups of people are always very different. And I like that a lot because everyone's style is different. Everyone has a different interest. And seeing how we can all be going out together or going to the same places, and everybody comes back with different photos.
Michael and I were having dreams, I later found out, the same dream in different parts of New York City. I had given up singing professionally and was looking to do something else, and I went to culinary school because that was perhaps my second love.
A catalog of rental properties in Italy came in the mail. And I don't know why it had never occurred to me before, but a little light bulb went on in my head, and I thought, oh, I could rent one for maybe a month, and that would give people enough time to do their creativity. So I started then looking at the prices of the houses and doing some calculating, and then I looked at how much it would cost to rent one of those farmhouses for a month, and I figured how many people could fit into it, and so I thought, well, why not? Let's just try something like this. So I called up the agency and I rented a house for the month, and I picked one out of the catalog, and I, of course, asked them all questions about it, but there was only one little picture of the house in the catalog, and I decided I would do it, and I got out my credit card, and she sent me an application, and I rented the house, and it was kind of sight unseen, and I picked the dates, and that was that. So a friend of mine was a chef, and I went to him and I said, would you be interested in just coming to Italy for a month and cooking for everybody? You know, I'd pay your expenses and you'd stay for free. And he didn't have enough time to do that. He said, but you know what I suggest? Why don't you just send a fax to some of the cooking schools in New York? And they have placement programs, and a lot of people graduate cooking school and would be really interested in spending a month in Italy just as an experiment on their own.
The phone rang, and it was the woman from the culinary school I had attended in the placement center, and she said to me, you know, you told me you wanted to travel with your cooking. Well, there's this guy, Michael Mele, who is going to Italy for some time with his friends, and he needs someone to cook.
Linda was the first one who came. She came to the interview. We sat down at the kitchen table. I made tea for us, and we kind of hit it off immediately, and we discovered that we had a lot of similarities in our backgrounds.
He a dancer, and I was a singer, and we talked for a few hours, a couple hours at least.
Linda was a singer, so that was important to me because it indicated that she would understand the temperament of artists and that they needed to be creative and they needed their space to be creative. Ultimately, I called Linda and I said, you know, would you like to come to Italy? I think you're the one. And she did.
We got to Tuscany, both jumping up and down when we saw the place. It was just beautiful, more than we had imagined, because we only had a picture of a side of a building. And the view was spectacular.
And I remember there was the windowsill with 2 tomatoes ripening, and Linda was leaning out of the window as our car drove up. And I just thought, wow, this is exactly like a Tuscan country farmhouse. That's what it was. That's what it was.
We began immediately. We fell into our roles that are our roles today still, and started to work together. Michael would ask me my opinion about what he thought we should do in certain situations, and I, of course, cooked.
And it was just a big mix of everybody, and everybody congealed at dinner. And the food was great, and Linda was a great chef, but at dinner time became when everybody got to know each other and chatted, and it was very funny. I remember somebody from France on one side of me and somebody from Italy on another side of me. And so in order for everybody to communicate, there was really this United Nations of stuff going on with people translating this one into that one and this one, and then the Finnish person who can only speak English and Finnish, and it was a really exciting time. And you know, we thought this was the only time we would ever be doing it, so let's just have a great time, and we did. The last week was the week that the woman who was painting came, and at the end of the week we were walking through the property, and she said, this is just such a beautiful place. She said, I really don't want to leave and go off to Assisi. She said, I would love to paint here. She said, do you think that if I brought some students next year that you could run a workshop for me here? And Linda and I kind of had never thought of this before. We looked at each other and we thought, well, okay, sure, yeah, we'll do that, why not? And really, the only thing we wanted was to be able to spend time in Italy, not have to pay for it. So we said, sure, we'll organize that, why not? Okay, right. So after that month was over, Linda and I were driving in the car. She said, you know, if you're interested in doing this as a business, I would love to be partners with you, and let's talk about it. And so, I mean, the rest is history. 2007 was our best year ever, absolutely. In terms of attendance, we were 98% full in every program across the board, and that was the year that the exchange rate started taking a nosedive. So we were 98% full, but we didn't make a lot of money. We made money, but not as much as we should have for being that full through all our programs.
And thank God we were that full, because had we not been that full, we would have not made a thing.
And when on that last day when we had to pay them, it was about 50% more than we had expected to pay. And at Diavoli, we were jammed full. We had 48.
We had 48 people. We couldn't fit them all in the dining room.
Right. And it turned out that we made the least at Diavoli that we've ever made.
That was just the beginning of the dive of the dollar. Then we did our budgets, and
We did our budgets projecting an even lower exchange
even lower,
rate.
but we had no way of knowing that it was going to be that it was going to get even worse.
Well, I woke up one morning in New York, and the Today Show, Matt Lauer,
Oh yeah.
said, it was the intro to the show, said, if you're planning a trip to Europe, you better put the brakes on. The euro is taking a nose, the euro is rising sky high. And I sprang out of bed. I was ready. If he had been in the room right there, I would have punched him out. Because that was the thing we were afraid of, is that a panic would start and people would stop coming to Europe. And in fact, there was a triple whammy, because the airfares really went up 25% from last year. So, which affects us because we have to fly all our teachers over. But it also affects everybody else because they don't want to fly to Europe because the airfare is so expensive. We went to a business consultant because we were thinking, well, how are we going to get through this? What tricks do we not know about? And she said, why don't you think about doing a similar program in the United States to buffer you when the euro goes up, when the airfares go up? And when we were sitting there, I remember saying, yeah, that's a good idea, that's good. And then on the way home, we talked and said, but what we do is based in Italy, and it's not the same thing. And again, bottom line, as Linda had said before, we only do these things because we want to amuse ourselves, and that wouldn't amuse us if we did this same thing in Ohio or California or something.
Not that there's anything wrong with Ohio or California, but
No.
it's not Italy. What we do is sell an experience. And you can't sell the experience of Il Chiostro and what we do in Cape Cod, or just because you can paint there doesn't mean you can do Il Chiostro and have the experience.
High points are the people you're with, because they just the people who run it are just incredible. The way they set things up, they make sure you see everything, and the people that they attract are just great people. It's like you meet them and you're almost instantly friends. You get the art and they have to see everything around it, but the people you're with, it makes a big difference.
There's a chemistry between us that was just serendipity. We didn't know each other beforehand. It just happened. I mean, sometimes you meet people who, there is that chemistry there. But I think it's that chemistry that attracts people to what we're doing here at Il Chiostro. That's why when we decide we're going to go off and see the goat cheese farm, they come with us, because whatever that chemistry is carries along with it.
It isn't much different than any other relationship.
Yeah, I think we're married usually before they get to know us. I think we've been together forever, that we were friends and then we started the business. I mean, it was fluky to think that we started this whole thing and we didn't really know each other.
I mean, the great thing is that Michael and I came to this with the same love and the same passion. And, that's the important part. As I think in any relationship, you come together and you're both going down the same road. And that's the first most important thing.
It is absolutely a very different business relationship than any other company would have, because it is a very intimate relationship, because we're living together when we're working, and we're working together almost 5 months of the year. So it's very different than two other business partners who are working together and come to the office every day. But I think because we both came from a theater background, I think we were used to that. I was working in summer stock where everybody was dumped into a cast house all of a sudden, and everybody's living together and working together. And so for me, this type of arrangement was not unusual at all. Not only was it not unusual, I loved that arrangement. That was a lot of fun. I remember the first years when we were doing it over at the Contessa's, everybody was in everybody else's rooms, and I think we have pictures of 4 or 5 people on my bed while I was trying to go to sleep and things like that. And that was the fun of it and the exciting part of it. And I never thought that that was unusual, but as you become more of a legitimate business, it's not only unusual, it's rare. Again, from the theater background, nobody really sits around and does nothing. You're always kind of active and doing something and going. And for me, when I left the theater, it was really difficult because I thought I'll never find anything like that again. And this is not the same thing, because the people who come to us are not necessarily of the theater mentality. But it's pretty darn close.
Oh yeah, we put on a show. I mean, it's showtime. You know, we gear up, and like Michael said, when we begin, that's the season, you know, and you just play it through.
Right.
And
right.
I remember the first time when we first started working together, you said something that I didn't even think about, but that I think works both ways. And I got sick, and you said, the great thing is that you just work through it, because what am I going to do? Call in sick that morning? I'm sorry, I'm not making breakfast for everyone this morning. I'm not feeling so good.
Yeah.
So you just work through it.
But I think we've had assistants who have felt that way. You know, I'm not feeling well, I can't come in today.
Yeah.
And I'm appalled that anyone would even think of that, because you would never, if you were doing a show, say, oh, by the way, let my understudy come in. There is no understudy. It's either you or it doesn't happen.
No.
I mean, that's also what happens at Il Chiostro, is people let go and they do things they would never do before.
We encourage it.
And we encourage it, and they love that. I mean, there are so many doors that are closed inside of us during life, and if you work in a company and just in terms of your family and all your responsibility, you close so many doors and you don't even realize that you've done that. And so for people to come here and for Linda to say, lick your plate, it's such a tiny little thing, and it costs nothing. But that type of thing is what elevates the whole program to an entirely different level.
This is really something special. The quietness, I don't know, you're very close to nature. And I think that's the feeling that you get wherever I'm walking. I see things that I normally would not have seen. The colors, it's just beautiful. It's a contentment that I'm feeling.
After a couple of years, we have traditionally had in our spring programs at the Contessa's a book that people sign. And they leave little thoughts there, you know. And so I was just reading randomly through the book, and it just struck me how it changed them, and how they think of things differently now, and how they're going to incorporate this, and how it's just, you know, really how it affected them. I remember calling Michael into the kitchen, and I was taken aback and moved by it. And I said, Michael, something's going on here. I mean, this isn't just we're coming to Italy and showing people a good time. Something else is happening. And when people come here and their experience, and I remember we had a conversation about, well, do you think it's, you know, what do you think it is? And I guess we facilitate it. We just kind of push it. I always think of food, of course, making pasta, how you gather the flour in a little bit at a time to then come out with the finished product. It's sort of like pushing in the flour so that, you know, at the end you get this experience, is what we've now realized,
right.
That we want people to have.
And between ourselves, we call it the Il Chiostro experience, because we can't really describe it any better than that, and we both know what we're talking about when we say that.
We started doing it, and we say, oh, this is great, and then those messages, those little phrases that we read helped us to understand what we were doing, so that now we can actually be intentional about facilitating this Il Chiostro experience that we want to share with people.
I also think that we know very well what things are not going to work and what things we don't want to do, mainly because we don't think we'll have fun doing that. We don't want to have a group of 100 people. We'd make a lot more money if we did that, but we don't want to do that. It's not interesting to us, and ultimately we don't think it would be interesting to them. And that's kind of a downside of everything, is that we're not in this to make $1 million, because it can't happen. There's no way that what we do in the way that we do it is going to have a huge return. Because if it does have a huge return, then you are going to be running tours where you're holding an umbrella and you're walking down the street. And I've always said, you know, shoot me as soon as you see me put up that first umbrella, because that's not, I don't think of us as tour guides, and I don't think of us as tour operators or travel agents or anything like that. So our vision has clarified and crystallized because we know what we're comfortable doing, and we see what it is that people respond to. in what we do. That's the other thing, that Il Chiostro is a difficult word to pronounce and to remember. So Il Chiostro is the official name, but most people, even people at Dievole, know it as Linda and Michael. You know? So when we're at the Contessa's, it's at Linda and Michael's. And I explain to people on the phone when I'm talking to them, hi, you know, so-and-so, this is, I say, this is Linda and Michael.
He does. You said that the other day. I noticed it.
I know. Because then they know exactly who we are, and that's fine.
They're a business. They're very creative souls, but they're, you know, before we get here, and of course as we're here, it's business. You know, they're taking charge of doing the things they need to do to make people comfortable with going out of the country with strangers. I mean, we ask people to cross oceans to paint with people they don't know.
Michael and I, for years, have been wanting to have a cultural center in Italy, someplace where we could all year round, hold our workshops. We do like to travel around and give people variety, but we were really looking to form a cultural institute, someplace where people could go anytime. We wouldn't have to just plan weeks, and it would be there. It would exist. We got a phone call from this gentleman, Niccolo, who has redone this beautiful monastery, and from ground up, just it was in ruin, and he took it over. He had a dream.
I had no idea what he wanted to talk to me about. I had no concept that he had just finished this place or anything.
We didn't know who he was at all.
We didn't know who he was. It was a mysterious call. So I went up at the appointed time. He came out and extended his hand and introduced himself. I just wanted to tell you about San Fedele and explain what it was all about and show you how I've redone it. And so he took me everywhere to show me how they had redone this place of San Fedele. And that was the beginning of our relationship with Niccolo.
He had a whole idea already about how he wanted us to do it. That we were just going to move everything from our business, basically, and just move everything into his place that was in Tuscany. And the price was double. So now we're moving into a different demographic and everything.
And we thought that there would be people who would be interested in that, because we get a lot of people who want to come to our programs but want a little higher level of accommodation. And so we thought, well, let's give this a try. Let's do a prova.
After we had been 98% full that year, we thought,
yeah, we can do this. Why not?
We wanted to expand, and it was really exciting. I'll tell you, I was moved to tears. When we talked that day, the last day, I was moved because I felt like we had finally found the guy and the place that we've all had always
both together. He wanted us to plan 3 months there, but we decided that for the first go-round, we would do 4 weeks and see what happened.
But we went back to New York, and we met with people that we knew in the business. We met with travel agents and our consultants and some marketing people that we knew. And so we figured if we put 3 and 4 workshops in there, we'll get at least, a 75%, full. When Niccolo called, he said, are we going to go ahead? And we said, yeah. People were still saying, I'm going to try. I'm talking to people. Oh, yeah. And then
Matt Lauer came on TV.
Then Matt Lauer did his little bit on TV, and everybody started, and people started canceling. Instructors canceled, can't get the people. I mean, I was calling people. I was annoying them. I mean, it was begging. I was calling everyone that we knew, and cancel. And we had nobody.
The registration rolls were just empty.
And we lost our shirts.
We lost our
literally.
shirts.
Because we had to pay
right.
for the first week.
We
had to pay for the week that no one came. And we paid half, but still, nobody was there. And we paid half, which was a lot. And then we had to pay for that week. And that was
took
money
all of,
we just
right.
threw away. I mean, we had no income, so it was thousands.
More money than we even had made.
Right. More than we had made the entire year.
Right.
And so here we are.
Right.
At the end of this year in debt.
So we worked all of this fall to make up only a part of the debt of the spring. So at the end of the fall, the irony is that everybody loved this last program, and it was fabulous, and it was wonderful. And I'm very happy that everybody had a great time and loved it. But at the end of the day, we never broke even. We ended the year quite a bit in the red.
But the irony is, as Michael said, that we are successful. You see the people, how happy they are. And to me, that's success. To us, we're successful. But were we successful financially? No. And how do you walk away from a program like Diabling where everybody is just, and we're full there.
Life-changing.
And life-changing. And people just can't tell us enough how great a time they had. And we're going home to the poorhouse, basically, in debt. And
we're also
wondering about next year. I mean, we're sitting here making plans kind of half-heartedly a little bit, wondering if we're going to be able to make it through next year.
And I feel kind of, not like a failure, but after 14 years of doing this, how could this happen now? I mean, we should be able to navigate the waters a little better, but there were just too many things against us, and we never were a robust business where we had lots of reserves in the bank to fall back on, and all of the reserves that we had, we don't have anymore.
But the other part of this is that the good part, if we can look at a little bit at the positive thing, is that doing San Fedele, even though it broke us this year, because it did, that's where our money went. We would have been able to survive. We would have been able to make it. We would have been fine had we not thrown away thousands of dollars on empty rooms.
The thing about San Fedele is, at San Fedele, the positive side of it is that is the place where we could make more money.
In some ways, I have to say, if we weren't in such dire straits here, if we weren't in such a crazy time, I was very excited about this. We finally are we have the place, we got the person, here in Italy, and if we hadn't been in such a lousy financial time, this is very exciting.
Overall, the thing is the warmth of the people. The Italian people, and also the people involved with Il Chiostro and the other participants. Everyone's so friendly and open, and it's a good feeling. Even just you go down the street, people say,
Told strangers, it's very nice.
Very nice.
I think even up until March of this year, we were seriously thinking that we would not be back. We thought it was tough already, and then the economy collapsed. And we just thought, nobody is going to come. In fact, for the several months, nobody did sign up or register or call, and we thought, it's never going to happen. What are we going to do? Maybe we'll just take a year off and
that would have been a mistake.
Well, because when the momentum is stopped, then the train stops.
And we were fortunate for many reasons. First, that Niccolo made us this indecent proposal, as he called it, to offer us a very low price. The deal was, if we had continued to go to the Contessa's, we would have been more staff than the participants. We had a few participants, but in order to run that place, it takes staff, a considerable staff, not just 2 or 3 of us. It would have taken at least 5, with cleaning and doing everything. Niccolo then offered us to at the same price, with including the staff and everything, so we were able to do it. And in this way, we were able to make enough money to pay off, I think all, I'm not sure, we're not done, but pretty much all of our debt. We've shifted away from the Contessa's venue and creating at San Fedele the Tuscan Renaissance Center. It's interesting because I realized that in telling people about the Tuscan Renaissance Center, I was saying that it was out of this difficult period of time, out of this hard time, that we were forced to find this new thing, and sort of by compromising and shifting and expanding, if you will, our vision, because we had been focused so much on the Contessa's property all these years and doing our programs there that we were limiting ourselves.
So yes, we are doing things differently, but I hope that we're still offering the same product and the same experience. The Il Chiostro experience is still vital. I think we will be here. I think probably more changes will happen in the next year, a couple of years, because I think our doors are now open to accept change more than they were last year at this time.
I honestly didn't think we would be sitting here saying these words. I thought that really Il Chiostro had run its course, and as much as I didn't want any political or economic climate to shut us down, and to, take away our enthusiasm and take away the thing we love to do, I really honestly wasn't sure that wasn't going to happen. It's been really a renaissance and a huge learning curve for us, because we didn't even know it. We have been stuck for a few years, but what we were trying to do was beat a dead horse. We were trying to make the Contessa's Place into the arts and cultural center that we have been talking about for the last 10 years.
We have also tried to remember that Il Chiostro is not equal to the Tuscan Renaissance Center. Il Chiostro is broader than that. And when we were thinking about what programs we're going to do in Venice next year, we said, well, do we even want to do Venice next year? We've got enough work to get people into the Tuscan Renaissance Center. And we realized, no, the Tuscan Renaissance Center there's an overlap with Il Chiostro, but they are not the same thing. And we cannot give up the other parts of Il Chiostro, or the identity of Il Chiostro, or this shirt that says Il Chiostro, because the bigger umbrella is still Il Chiostro, and it needs to remain that.
My first trip was here in Tuscany as a student, as a guest, and I just came and absorbed everything that they did, and it was like no other trip I've ever been on as an organized trip. It compared to nothing that you ever would read in a tour guide book. It was truly going to someone's home, and that was what stole my heart, and that's what made me want to be with them as a company, if I can put it in that term, as a business, to be with them because it felt like a family right from the start. Not that they were with a tour group called Il Chiostro going to Italy. Nothing like that. So this is what makes me come back and very easily talk from the heart of bringing other people to share not just what I love to do, but Italy and what Italy means to us.
I think what it says to me is that it's really it always has been theater. And that's what we've done, and that's how we've approached it, and I think people have been entertained by that. And that's maybe what sets us apart from other tours and other tour companies, is that entertainment value that we infuse in one way or another.
Yeah.
And we do that because that's what we like.
We like that.
We like that, and
like that
we come from that. We went on the road and went to a different location or something.
Well, I think it's a different play. I think you can do the same show over and over and over and over. They even take actors out of Broadway shows after they've done it for so long because,
freshen it up.
Yeah, you gotta freshen it up, mix it up a little bit, and we never would have done that on our own, probably.
Well, it's the same feeling as when the show goes down at night and you're still up. There's that energy and excitement, and you have to kind of come down and chitter-chatter a little bit and talk about what happened and this, that, and the other thing. It's that same feeling completely. The audience is gone, and you're sweeping up, and there was this magic and mystery, and there was a connection between just me and the theater. And it was like the spirit of the theater and me alone communing, and I love that. And I feel that we have that same energy and connection with what we do and how we do it.
Because it's a place we love to be in. Italy is a place we love to be. It's kind of like singing too. I mean, I could sing in this place if it was empty. It's a very different experience than singing with an audience. And both of them have their value, but it's both of them together where you learn things and you grow and you develop and you get better. I think it's perfect how it happened. Italy has been a huge school for both of us, and it continues to be. So even though we're old, we're still learning.
Yeah, that's good. That was a good lesson this year. But there's a lot to learn. I think we have a lot of optimism for the future and excitement, and we're ready and raring to go for the future. And our goal is to allow people to have a transformation and to see the world differently. And this year we had the transformation.
Yes.
And we weren't expecting to do that, but without knowing what we were getting into or where we were going, we ended up having a transformation. And I think the future will be different. Will it be successful? Again, who knows? It depends on a lot of things, economy included. But I think that we've got a good foundation, and I don't think we could have made that foundation if we didn't have this year of adversity.
So no, there's a magic about this place. I said, I feel calmer. I feel tremendously creative. I like that everything is perfect. You know, the food is perfect. The people are wonderful. And it's like it's like a getting away. I have called it the closest thing to heaven. That's what it is, the closest thing to heaven.
So here's to life.